Good morning, everyone. It's Mr. McTavish. It's November 26th, and unfortunately, I can't be into school today because I woke up with a headache, and according to the COVID protocol, I need to stay home to make sure it's nothing else. I'm sure it's fine, but them's the rules. Anyway, so it's November 26th, and I'm going to be going over the plan. This will be the first video, and there'll be another one for period 2. So let's get started. So for today, the goal is we're going to start learning how to create GUI, graphic user interface, in Java. And grade 12s, we're going to be dealing with object-oriented programming later. And then there's a new project that I'll be posting this afternoon. And you've got the last period of the day to work on it. So that's the game plan. So let's get started. First off, this is the Java documentation, and AWT, you can see this is the package that contains all the classes for creating user interfaces, painting graphics, images. And I have shown you this website before. If you just Google java.awt Oracle, you'll be able to find this exact page. It'll be the first link in Google. Basically, I can only scratch the surface with the different types of things that you can do. So taking the time to look at documentation and seeing what's possible is a really key step. There's lots of sample code out there in the world. And this is the javax.swing, and the idea with this is it's kind of a lightweight so that you can create user interfaces that will function very similarly on any platform. So whether it's Mac, Windows, Linux, that's the goal, is that the Swing platform can kind of make it look fairly similar across all three. So we're going to start off. You're going to create a new program. Now, please know I totally get that you're not going to be able to keep up with the slideshow. At the end of the slideshow is a link to all this code, and I will post the video and the slideshow in Google Classroom so that you can have one open and just Alt-Tab between this and your code to be able to keep track of what's going on. So we're starting. Here's your key program, just the basic standard boilerplate. First thing is that we need to import some classes. So up at the top, we're going to import java.awt.asterisk, and we're also going to import javax.swing.asterisk. Now, the asterisk allows us to import all the classes that we might use. Obviously, it's not great practice. It's better to import just the classes that you use, but for learning purposes, this makes it a lot easier because we can just do a standard import for all of these. So we import these in, and then we're going to just replace the system out print line with JFrame. So JFrame is a class that we can use to create a frame. And so JFrame is the name of the class. You'll notice that the J and the F are capitalized. So we create an instance, we declare that, and the name that we're going to give it is the word frame. So just frame. Notice when I use variables, I try to use a small letter for the name of the variable compared to a class which has the capital letter. So once we've declared it, we use the assignment operator, the equal sign, and we're creating a new JFrame, and we put brackets. So this allows us to construct an instance of the class. So grade 12s, that's a really key thing. This is object-oriented programming. You have your class, and this creates an instance of it. So we've got our frame. We're going to set our size. Now, notice I've left a blank line. We're going to come back and add to this in a bit. So frame.setSize brackets 400, 400. These are the width and the height, and we're just going to use a standard square for now. Last thing is that the frame, we've got to set the visibility of it. So frame.setVisible, we're going to set it to true. The default is when you create the frame, the default is the user can't see it. That allows you to create the frame and then get everything set up on it before making it visible for the user to be able to see. So this is just a basic frame. If you run the program, you're not going to see very much. You're going to see a rectangle on the screen. So let's start adding to it. So we're going to add some components. So if you read the documentation, a component is an object that has a graphical representation that can be displayed on the screen, and we can interact with it. So a button is a component, a checkbox, scroll boxes. These are all typical of most graphic user interfaces. And there's the link to what a Java component is from the AWT package. So we're going to add a button. So that blank line that we had before, we're going to add a J button. And so J button, and we're going to use the word button because that's pretty self-explanatory. We're going to use the equal sign, the assignment operator, equals new J button. And in the brackets, we're going to put click me in quotation marks. So this is the text that will display on our button. Now, at the moment, the button is just an instance of the button, but we haven't actually added it to the frame yet. So that's our next stage. So we need to do a few things. First off, we're going to set the bounds. So this is how big the button is and where it's located. So button.setBounds. In the brackets, we've put 0, 0, so that's the X and Y value of the top left corner of the button. So it's going to be right at the top of the screen. In computers, typically 0x means the left-hand side of the screen, 0y means the top of the screen. With X, as you go to the right, X will get bigger, but with Y, as you go down, Y will get bigger. So this is slightly different from how you did graphing in math. The whole purpose of this is that with computers, they could figure out where the top was. So, and as you would type, you would go down the screen. So they set it up so that Y would go positive that direction. So the next line is frame.add. So frame, JFrames have nothing on them until you add to them. So the add method allows you to add different components. In this case, we're adding our button. So that allows you to create complex user interfaces with buttons and labels and things like that. Now, at the moment, button doesn't do anything. So it's kind of pointless. So we need to add an action to the button. And when we're using a graphic user interface, basically it's locking in with the operating system. So the operating systems, if you think of them as kind of having this loop, it's constantly checking the status of things. Did somebody type the key? Did they click a mouse? So it's listening for these actions, and then it's responding to those actions. So we are going to add a library to begin with, and this is the java.awt.event live package. So we need this class to be able to handle different events that our user interface is going to deal with. So once we've added that, after we set the bounds for our button, we are going to go button.addActionListener. So this is an event that's associated with the button, and it adds a listener, so it's going to listen for an event, and in brackets it's the number 1. We're going to replace that. Now, this is going to get very confusing if it wasn't confusing already. So please notice I'm going to focus on that one line because it's really confusing. So this is the line, button.addActionListener, bracket 1. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to replace this 1. So if we look at my next line, I've replaced the 1. So what I've replaced it with is new action listener, and I've got open brackets. So this creates a new instance of the action listener, and you'll notice I've added squiggly braces right after that. So all of this is within the brackets of the add action listener method associated with the button. So it can get, there's a lot of brackets and squiggly braces. It can get very confusing. I highly encourage you to add comments to keep your code organized. So the next set of code is going to go in these two squiggly braces right here that I'm highlighting. So here's what I've added. So I just hit enter so that it's a little more organized. So that's the original opening squiggly brace. That's the original closing squiggly brace. So inside here, I've written @override. Override, notice, has a capital O. And then I've added a line, public void action performed, bracket, action event E, closing bracket, another squiggly set of squiggly braces. So what I'm doing is I'm creating an event inside of this action listener. So basically this is going to listen for the user clicking the button, and it's creating a new event that's a new action based on that. So this is code that actually exists, and the override, I'm overriding the default code with my own code. So grade 12s, this is a good example of object-oriented programming in use. So between those squiggly braces, this is what I'm adding. System out print line, I was clicked. So this is going to just output just like a normal print line. So we will be able to see that it was clicked, and button.setText is clicked. So this will change the text on the button to the word clicked. So that allows the user to actually interact with the user interface. So if I run this program, this is what I get. Nice big button here. And down here, I've got the typical console that I normally see. When I click the button, I will then, this text has now changed, and down here, it will run that I was clicked line. And you can see you're actually interacting with the user interface. So, a lot of concepts. We've created a graphic user interface. We've created a program with the button. What I want you to do is take some time to consolidate these skills. So create a brand new program and create it from scratch. The key thing is that even though you can copy and paste the code, you're simply not going to understand the code when you do that. You need to take time to program it, to run it. You're going to make errors, so you double check. And that consolidation is really crucial to understand what's going on. So I know some of you will just copy and paste the code to resist that temptation. Type it out. Make sure that you understand it, run it, make a small change, what happens. Really important. So what I want you to do is create a new program. It has a button, and the button has the number 0 on it. And the goal for this program is every time you click the button, I want that number to increase. So 0, 1, 2, 3. That's going to be tricky. Keep in mind is that you're probably going to need a variable that's an integer, and you're probably going to need to figure out how to convert an integer to a string. So if you go through our textbook, you can find that. You got to take the time to figure that out. Last thing is, all the code from this is on this website. So if your code is really not working, go over here, have a look at the code, and then you can figure out what's going on based on my original code, because this code should work, so that way you can fix it up. Hope that's useful. I'm looking forward to touching base with you. Today, you can reach me on email, so if you have questions, please email me and I will get through them and help you out.